Give it up for Shoop and the Dismore. Yeah. I had to find some strong guys. If I tried to carry that up by myself, I'd have to take a 5-minute break. And so I didn't want to do that with Chapel happening today. Wow, you guys are down there. Every Friday, I stand kind of back in my area, and I'm amazed. Today, I looked up there, and again, we're talking about relationships, and I noticed English back there. His dad went out on a few dates with my sister. His dad and I went to high school together. I noticed Moorbacher standing there. When he came to his interview at school, he brought my cousin's son with him. My cousin's son is his best friend. He brought my cousin's son with him to his interview. And the kid said, yeah, we're related. And quite honestly, I didn't know what he was talking about. I mean, I see cheerleaders up here with 9th grade, 14, 15 years old, leading us in worship. I see shortstops over here leading us in worship. I'm back there and I hear some 6th grade voice, whoa. And I think, Lord, why didn't I get any of that talent? I know I'm talented in other areas, my looks especially, but I don't understand why sometimes, we're shorthanded when it comes to things. I love Fridays. I love chapel time. It's fun to be the guy who kind of comes up and introduces everything and then sits down and listens to the message that's being brought before. It's a little intimidating staying up here being the guy who's actually bringing the message. I want to tell you that this week I'm going to talk to you about relationships. We're going to get into that in just a second. Next week, Miss C is going to come, and the title of her message is Who Has God Created Us to Be? And I know she has some great things planned for you. Who has God created us to be? And then we're going to come back on the 30th. We're going to close out this month in this series, and I'm going to bring a couple seniors. And because my topic is so big, relationships, there's so much in there. I'm going to bring a couple seniors. They're going to talk about some family relationships. They're going to talk about some relationships with maybe the elders in their life, being teachers, coaches, that type of thing. And then we're going to spend some time in prayer. And we're going to spend some time just praying and being together on that particular day. And then we're going to get into some other things when we get to February. I love Fridays. My international student over here, my man Tony, he calls Fridays Black Friday. Because every week, so many quizzes, so many tests. Why always on Friday? And so I'm going to ask you guys, it's 10, I'm going to look here because my eyes are terrible, 10:32. I'm going to ask you guys for about 25 minutes to just focus on what I have to say, and then let me close it out for a few minutes right at the end, and then I'm going to let you guys go and have your quizzes and tests and all the stuff that you have to do to close out your day before you can celebrate the weekend. Good? Last week, just like all of you guys, I came walking into chapel, and I knew Mr. Pinter was speaking because I asked him to speak. And I knew he was speaking. He had that gigantic tree trunk laid out here. And as he started to talk, he took out the tiny knife and talked about how, ever since you're born, people are shaping your life, whether that's positive or negative. And then he took out a little hatchet and started making some wood chips fly a little bit, and some people have a little more impact on your life. And then the big two-sided hatchet and started taking some wild hacks and wood flying everywhere. These people have even more influence on your life. And then the big chainsaw came out. And that was pretty cool. Seniors are getting sprayed with wood and everything else. We had a mess to clean up. We had to bring a vacuum cleaner. It was awesome. Mr. Pinner even was transparent with you guys, and he talked about, there's a good hunk of his tree trunk when he was a younger guy that he cut off, that he was a hacker. He was hacking lives and being that mean guy, that bully, that, if you know his story at all, he's told it in chapel before. That's who he was. Not saying that was cool, saying that he wasted that portion of his tree trunk in hopes that by telling you that, maybe you won't waste that portion of your tree trunk. I'm going to be a little transparent with you as well. I wasted a hunk of my tree trunk. Yeah? By being maybe lethargic. Some of you are sitting there today and you're like, come on, here we go, another chapel. Somebody's up there talking. Hopefully, it goes fast. Maybe I can fall asleep quicker today. Whatever it is. I'm going to ask you for attentiveness. I've been there before. I've been the one that, I've been in church my entire life. I've heard every message. You can't say something new to me. I've been there. I've been the one that, Mr. Tennyson, that was great, the story you told, and you heard the wrong thing completely. I've been that guy. Where you hear the story about the relationship, you hear the story about the dating, but you didn't get the point. You missed a point completely. I've been that guy. I've also been the one who's sitting on the edge of my chair, excited and taking notes and listening to every word and I've been that guy as well. So I know where you sit. I know who you are. And so I'm just asking all of those groups, if you'll just focus for just a few minutes today, maybe we can make a little sense. I love Mr. Pinter's key thought last week. We talked about community. And we've been talking about that an awful lot. And he said, and again, if you hear anything, hear this. He said, we can be as close as we want to be. We can be besties. We can be, loving each other, bonding, whatever word you want to use, bae. You can use all those words. Yeah. But if Christ isn't at the center of that, it's useless. You're going to hear this 1,000 times today, I hope. At least loudly. Maybe not literally 1,000 times, but at least 1,000 amps. If Christ isn't at the center of that, if you're the one giving the advice, everybody comes to me for advice. I must be really good at it. If you're the one giving the advice and there's no Christ at the center of that, stop. Stop. If you're the one giving bad advice, stop. He said, he read right from the Bible, 1 Corinthians 15:33, with a preface, do not be misled. Do not be misled. Do not be misled. Bad company, bad friends, bad relationships, they will corrupt good morals. You can be as good of a person as you are. You can be a solid Christian person. You can be, and you put yourself and you surround yourself with bad, corrupt people, you will be corrupt. It will happen. Okay? We're going to talk about levels. We're going to talk about that. Seniors they're going to look at me and they're going to say, Mr. Tennyson, I hate watching reruns. I don't like movies when I watch them twice, but hopefully you'll pick things up the second time because we're in the same section of our book. And so a few of the things that we talk about today are going to be reruns for these guys. And a few of them are going to be previews as well. And so stay with me, guys. And by the way, some of you at the end, I'm going to need some people to help me pray, so start thinking about that. I'm going to need some people. Mr. Pinner challenged us to think about whether or not we should be even considering ourselves life shapers or whether we're just hackers based on our spiritual condition. And so I want you to remember all those things as we build this community that we're talking about. Who are we in our relationships? Some of you guys you'll go to buy a book, you're book readers, and you'll go to buy a book, and when you buy a book, you read the jacket, the little thing, the dust jacket they call it. And you'll know what the book is about before you even read it. Some of you even go to the last chapter. You might read the first chapter and something, whoa, this is kind of cool. And you go to the last chapter and you read it before you ever, start reading the book. Some of you are like that with movies. I want to go see this movie. It's nominated for an Academy Award. And then you go online and you read everything that it's about. And you know exactly what it's about before you even go in there. There's no surprise. I'm going to do that to you today. Some of you do it with Christmas presents. Mom, I want this sweater, I want this pair of pants, and I want this, laptop, whatever. And then, you go walking away in the store, and Mom's got her cart, and she goes walking the other direction, and she puts that exact sweater, that exact pair of pants, and that exact laptop in there, and then kind of hides it with her coat. We're fooling each other. Today I'm going to tell you the end of the book. I'm going to tell you the end of the movie. I'm going to tell you the end of the story before we ever get going. Okay? I want you to be able to identify 3 things when you walk out of here today. 1, that your relationship with the Lord is the most important relationship you're ever going to have. And if I walked out of here without telling you that, I would be a failure, an absolute failure. I want you to understand, and that's the first thing we're going to talk about, your relationship with the Lord is the most important relationship that you can possibly have. And that has to be right before you can really, truly be moving in the direction of having solid community. Next of all, I hope you can identify some relationships that need to change. I hope that you can be honest with yourself. I hope that you can be honest with yourself and say, you know what? He's standing up there and he's talking and he's made us laugh a couple times and he told a couple interesting stories and a couple boring ones. But what's true about what he said was that I've got some stuff in my life that needs to change. That relationship I have with that guy, my friend, it's bad. We do bad stuff together. We are corrupting each other. You know, it's bad. It needs to change. I'm in a dating relationship. And you know what? It's heading in a bad direction. I need to change it. So I hope you can identify that at the end of our chapel time today. And the third thing that I hope you can identify is, you know, blossoming relationships, good relationships. Relationships that you need to pursue. Whether that be with a student that you have met, whether that be with, you know, one of your faculty members that really just has good insight and somebody that you can go to and you can trust and, you know, you've gone to them a few times with stuff that's happening in your life and they have offered you great advice and they've done a great thing for you. Or maybe it's something that you need to fix with your parents. You know, my parents, you know, they've been there and we're oil and water at this point. We don't get along. Okay, let's talk about what a relationship even is. Right at the very beginning, the first part of your Bible, when you open the thing up, God is creating the heavens and the earth, right? And he creates man, and it's Adam, and he's sitting there in the garden all naked by himself, and he's eating apples, and he's enjoying the fruit and the trees. I can't imagine. Again, I'm trying to think through this a little bit. Was he a vegetarian? Because they just now name the animals. That's cow. I call him dinner. Eat more chicken, whatever. I can't imagine that happening. Maybe it did, I don't know. But Adam's there and he's doing well. But the Lord in Genesis 2:18, he says, "It is not good that man be alone. I'm going to make a helper suitable for him." And the Lord took a rib out of Adam in Genesis 2:22, and he made woman from that rib, and he had taken from the man, and he brought them together. He brought her to him, and they were together. And then we all know the rest of the story. Eve screwed everything up, and you know, now we have to be cold and wear clothes and all that kind of good stuff. Thankfully, because I'm up here in front of all you guys today. Here we go. God created us as social beings. He saw a dude who was alone. A dude that he created, Adam. He saw him, and he said, it's not good for him to be alone. He created us as social beings. He brought Eve down here to earth, and they were then together, and they were able to talk. Navigating through relationships is very, very, very difficult. Some people, for whatever reason, they have the knack. They have the ability. They have social skills beyond social skills. They can walk into a situation. Can I have some water? I'm feeling it. They can walk into a situation and they make friends like that. You know, some of you are like that. I've watched some of you that, you know, we'll have the new student orientation day. And I've got my National Honor Society students there. And the National Honor Society students are going to make friends with all the new students. And the new students are going to make friends with the National Honor Society students. And these National Honor Society students are outgoing. And they've got this gigantic resume of things that they've done. And some of them are much better at being social than others. And these new students come in and they don't know anybody and they're terrified. And yeah. But some of them, within a matter of minutes, they're making friends, they're influencing people, they're doing everything they can to help, you know, everybody get to know each other. Some people, this is easy for them. You know, again, I'm going to refer to my man Tony. Tony is awesome. He's in my life for the last 3 months. We were at a store shopping, and when we got to the car, we were at the store and he was shopping. I wasn't shopping. And I was talking to this person, talking. And we were with my older daughter, and the person came to our table. This is not a store, it was a Culver's. Came to our table and brought him a coupon for a free scoop. That's awesome. A free scoop of custard from Culver's. We'll all take that. And she said, because it's your first time ever coming to Culver's, you get a free scoop. And so when she left, he's got his free scoop, which he still hasn't eaten. And she says, he says to me, how did she know it was my first time at Culver's? And it's because of who I am. I'm that person who talks to everybody. I don't know why. Sometimes it's a sickness and an illness. But I talk to everybody, and I told that girl he can't decide on what he wants because he's from China and it's his first time to Culver's. And So then she brought him a gift. Kind of a cool deal for her. But I'm one of those people that talk to everybody. There's a guy at the grocery store that we go to most of the time. Steinbrink, we're Steinbrink in here. Show me Steinbrink, 7th grader, yeah. Anyway, we go to Steinbrink's, and there is a guy there that I have introduced to my daughter 4 times. Hey, have you ever met Bree? And he's got a little tag on his that says Nick. Nick, have you ever met Bree? Bree, ever met Nick? 4 times. We talk to people. Those are acquaintances. There's levels. That guy's an acquaintance. He probably thinks I'm a weirdo. It's okay. Let him think it. But there are levels of relationships. That guy's an acquaintance. My mail guy who drives by. What up? Once in a while I'm out there mowing the lawn or something and we talk for a second. But he's just my mail guy. I never see my newspaper person because they come at like 4 in the morning and I don't do 4 in the morning. So I never see my newspaper person. I see the people in the grocery store, the girl that cuts my hair. In fact, she switched places and didn't tell me. I had to have my daughter Carissa stalk her. Because nobody can cut it like she can. I mean, look at this stuff. And so one of our former students, Jasmine, went to beauty school, whatever it's called, with her. And so we had to text Jasmine, to text her, to text me, so that I could figure out where my haircut lady went. Do you think the next time I went in there, she thought I was a little weird? Yes, she did. She thought so. She's an acquaintance. They're acquaintances. I would venture to say that everybody in here, you're at least at the level of being an acquaintance. We go to the same school together. We're in the same building, 35, 40, 45, 50 hours a week together, depending on what you're in. You're at least an acquaintance. Yes? The next level is being casual friends. And I would say that on a lot of levels, people in here are casual friends, at least, teammates. You spend, basketball guys, the basketball team or the band, that's a class, but, those people, they spend a lot of time together. They spend a lot of time together, especially, in the trombone section, Whitmire and Kenny. In the trombone section, Whitmire's not here anymore, he lost his best friend. But they're sitting together in the trombone section for years, playing the trombone together. You think that they don't talk, that they don't get to know each other, that they don't know when each other are sick or when each other are going through some stuff. They know a little bit about each other. They sit together, they're forced to sit together. Basketball, you practice together, you socialize, you talk together. You spend time together. You're becoming friends. It's more than just being an acquaintance. I don't know my mailman's name. In fact, the lady that cuts my hair, I do know her name, but it's so crazy that I just call her Q. Quilencia, something crazy, but I just call her Q. What up, Q? She knows who I am, she knows what I do. I've invited her to church lots of times. What up, Q? But you don't necessarily, those acquaintances. Nick, I wouldn't know anything about Nick, except for they make him wear a shirt, and I try to embarrass him with my... But these are acquaintances. Close friends, you know a little bit about them, or friends, you know a little bit about them. You hang around with them. You see them in the teacher's lounge. You see them where you see them. They're your friends. In fact, there are times of the year, I would venture to say, there are times of the year, during volleyball season, we're really good friends because we're forced to be together for, 10 hours a day. During wrestling season, we're closer than we are at other times of the year. Because on Saturdays, we have to be here at school at 5 a.m. and we don't get home until 10 p.m. And so we're together for 24 hours. So we're closer during those times of year. That's friends, right? And then you are lucky when you get into the category of close friends. When you get into the category of having best friends. When you get into the category of having somebody that you can rely on every single solitary day, that even if they're not in the same room as you, you can text them, you can call them, you can FaceTime them, whatever you've got to do, you know that they're there for you. We're lucky. We're lucky if we go through life and have a couple of those. We're lucky if we have a couple of those. If you take it that seriously. If you take it that seriously. Some of you, and I get a kick out of it, and so I'll make fun of you for a minute. Some of you, I've heard the conversations down in the lunchroom, wherever. I have 800 friends. I have 1,700 friends. I have 1,100 friends. I think Daniel Crabb was the winner this week in senior class. 1,700 friends. Whoa! I don't even think I know 17. He says 1,000. There's no way it's 17,000. But 1,700 friends because of Facebook. Those are not your friends. Some of them are your friends. Some of them, a couple of them might even be your close friends. Those are people that got sick of saying, somebody wants to be your friend. Somebody wants, oh, forget it. He's my friend. I'm tired of him bothering me. You don't have 1,700 friends. You might know 1,700 people. You don't have 1,700 friends. We're lucky if we have a couple really, really, really close friends in our life. And yesterday I had a senior boy. I'm not going to embarrass him or call him out. I'm not going to say that he was a quarterback of our football team. I'm not going to say any of those things. Nothing to embarrass him. But sometimes it's dangerous. This is the segue into dating, by the way. Sometimes it's dangerous when that best friend is somebody that we're dating. Why would you say that, Mr. Tennis? Because unless you're married, that friendship could end tomorrow. Today, you could be making your 7th-hour phone call and she says you're fired. And now not only did you lose a girlfriend and you're crying all about it, you lost your best friend. Just pick it on a little bit there, people. Make sure you're not jumping levels. Let me talk about jumping levels for a second. Understand, and this takes some social skill. And I know some of us lack social skill. We have talents in every area. How come they can recognize? But the it takes a little bit of social skill to recognize what area you're in. If I said to, Nick, hey Nick, good to see you. You're doing a great job stocking groceries. How are you? And he put down his groceries and he just puked his emotional self on me. Oh. Yikes. Nick, we barely know each other. I see you once a week maybe. Chill out, dude. Or if I did the same thing to him. Hello, crazy dude who keeps introducing me to my daughter. Good to see you. How are you? I'm terrible. And I started blowing up at Nick. He'd probably wonder what was wrong with me. Yeah? Understand the levels. That level's for somebody else. We get into that sometimes. And the illustration, I think it's a good illustration because the seniors laughed at it, so I'm going to use it again. The Promised Land Day. And because I've been here 25 years, I've seen this. With my own failing eyes, I've seen this happen. We assign you to a car to ride out in, or a bus to ride out in, or whatever to ride out in. And you get in there with an acquaintance. You get in that car, and you're an acquaintance with them. And it's a full 20 minutes to get there. And you guys talk for 20 minutes. You even maybe share an earbud. You're listening to the same music. I can't believe how it was just fate. We were even dressed alike. You're wearing camouflage. Everybody's dressed that way that day, yeah. We were dressed alike. We liked the same music. It was awesome. And now, you got in the car. You barely knew them. You knew their name. They're in your English class. You've got a locker near them. You have lunch at a similar time as them. But they're just your acquaintance. And now all of a sudden, you're making plans with them, which is fine. That's great. That's how relationships are built. But be careful. Because here you are. The next week, we're going to have a sleepover, and you come to school, and 7th graders, 6th graders, they've got their sleeping bag at school with them in their pillow. It's above their locker. Sorry, guys, but it is. Your sleeping bag is there above your locker, and there's your pillow and everything, and us old people are thinking, oh, Lord. But you're sleeping over, and you're having a great time, and you're talking, and you decide this is my chance to tell them who I like, who I don't like, and all my secrets, and I'm going to show them my diary and everything. Because we're besties. We rode the Promised Land together. We dressed alike. We had the same music. We even hung around the same place that day. We're besties. No, you're not. You are still acquaintances. You're moving towards becoming better friends. But you haven't gotten there yet. And you decide to share. And then the next week, now we're 3 weeks into it, we might even have hit, the end of September now. That person is telling their friends, you are not going to believe what Kristen told me. We spent the night, and she told me this, she told me that, I read her diary, she hates this person, and now all of a sudden there's all kinds of drama that you created because you didn't understand what level you were in. This is the worst when it comes to dating. The worst. You know, and sometimes I feel responsible for it. Now, if I had to tell you, if I had to be totally honest with you, I killed dating. I kicked dating's behind. Have you seen my wife? If you didn't think I killed dating, if you didn't think that I knocked that out of the park, then go meet her sometime. She's up in 207, for those of you who don't know her. Go meet her in 207 and see if I didn't kick dating's tail. All right? So I'm an expert. No, hardly. But I'm going to tell you this. I've seen so many bad things happen. Because, you know, and it happens at different ages. For me, it was in 5th grade, and it was with Ted Capp's aunt. Believe it or not. Ted Capp's aunt, Mary Beth. Her husband, they're on staff out at Crossway Church. We've had this discussion. But Mary Beth Capp was in 5th grade. I was in 5th grade. She's a good-looking 5th grader. She was probably the same height she is now. And I was about this height. I'm not the tallest dude now. And so there we were. Me and Mary Beth. And we exchanged pencils. I don't know why we had pencils with our names on them. But we exchanged pencils. And our dating life was, at recess, we walked around the running track together. And other people, yeah. And by the time you know, we had those kind of pencil sharpeners, now we just stick it in there. But by the time I sharpened my pencil all the way to Mary Beth, she dumped me. She kicked me to the curb. That was my first dating relationship. It happens, and again, trust me, that wasn't a dating relationship. That was a 5th grade boy being stupid. I wish that nobody even noticed the opposite sex until about 20, 21 years old. But it just isn't feasible. We're too, and when I say this, I'm pointing to myself. Trust me, I'm pointing to myself, big time. We're too immature. We're too emotional. Way too emotional. If you can't, and I've seen this, if you can't stand it when your boyfriend talks to another girl in the hallway, you think that they're plotting something behind your back because they talk by the water fountain, you might be a little too immature to have a girlfriend. Trust me. And I've seen it. What's wrong? They're in little tears. What's wrong? They're sitting by somebody else in class. Relax. 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 It gets more than that, though. It gets to be more than that. Guys, I did go on some dates. I did have some girls that were, you know, again, we went out and we had fun. You know, there was some of that. But I also had a girl that, you know, probably one of my first real serious, senior in high school, decided to date this girl. And I can't say names because one year I was talking about a girl I dated, and her, I think you're talking about my dad and her mom are brothers and sisters. So I don't say names anymore unless it's Ted Capp's family. And so this particular girl and I, you know, we were friends, all this kind of good stuff. And then we decided to date. And I was on lockdown. There was nothing. There were 7 days in a week just like there is now. And I mean, she had us doing something 7 days of the week. She even invited her to stuff that like were my stuff, my church youth group. I'd invite her. That's like bringing sand to the beach. And she, all of a sudden, get it, think about it. Why would you bring sand to the beach? There's already lots of sand at the beach. There's already lots of girls at youth group. Why would I want her to come? It's like bringing sand to the beach, and all of a sudden she shows up at youth group. Yeah, some of you are, getting it. Finally, you're a little slow this morning. Stay with me. If you've got somebody that is so emotional, if you've got somebody that can't be out of your sight, if you've got somebody that's texting you 24/7, if you've got somebody that won't allow you to hang around your friends, if you've got somebody that is causing you and again, I know I've got 6th graders here, so I'm going to be careful, but is causing you to stumble in a way, you know, physically, mentally, all that kind of stuff. If you're in that type of situation, you need to run. And guys, or girls, I'm sorry, if you have to compromise who you are, if you can't be yourself, if you are being asked to do things that you shouldn't be doing, wouldn't be doing, absolutely couldn't be doing, if you're talking about that kind of stuff, you need to get away from that situation right now. There is nothing worth that. Everybody who's in a dating relationship, I go down to the senior class every day and I talk to the seniors, and there's a few of them that are in dating relationships with classmates, and so it's awkward when I say stuff like that. I don't care. And then there's others that have their boyfriend outside of school, and so it's awkward when I say stuff like that. But I mean it. I know that as a 17-year-old, I was not ready for that. As an 18-year-old, I was not ready for that. When I got married at 24 years old, I was hardly ready for that. I guarantee you I wasn't ready for the year of engagement. That was horrible. For lots of reasons. But now we're married 25 years and it's awesome, and like I said, I kicked dating's tail. But we're way too immature, we're way too emotional, and we're way too young to be putting so much stock in that. And jumping levels in relationships, and I'm going to be fast here, because time goes way too fast. But jumping levels in dating relationships would be that guy, he sees that girl and it's homecoming, which is the beginning of the school year, and he sees that girl and she's good looking, or he thinks she's good looking, and he thinks she's nice, whatever, and so he does the whole thing and he asks her to homecoming, and she's groovy and he's groovy, and they decide homecoming was awesome, and they decide they're going to date. But before this, they weren't even friends. They were acquaintances, they went to school together, all that kind of good stuff, but they weren't even friends. And now all of a sudden they're in this emotional, guys, have some sense. Be patient. Be respectful. Have fun. Have a plan. But stay away from it if you can. And have a mentor. Have somebody that you can, that's mature enough and has a sense of humor and will help you laugh your way through some of that stuff. Because you're going to have your heart broken a few times. But if you can get through that without making too many gigantic mistakes, you're going to be in good shape. And understand, when you do make a gigantic mistake, it doesn't necessarily label you for the rest of your life. That's not who you are. Don't believe the person that says that's who you are. But stop doing it. Yeah? I'm going to wrap up a little bit. So I'm going to ask the worship guys if they come up. I hope that I don't see anybody sleeping. So I hope that in my little talk today, you guys were entertained a bit. I hope that you saw yourself in some of those stories. I hope that you saw yourself. It went really fast. It went really, really fast. And I have more to say, but no time to say it. Before anything else, I guess I would like for you guys, if you just shut your eyes for a second, really tight. Shut your eyes. I don't want anybody looking around because I want this to be as easy and painless as can be. The dentist says easy and painless, and then the first thing they do is give you a shot. Liar. And then they drill you. I will not be doing any of that. I'm simply going to ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to ask you to respond to those questions. And because I don't see anybody sleeping, I know you're all awake. I know you all are listening. I know you all are being attentive, and I appreciate that. So keep listening just for a second. This is Christian Life School. And I think every day, if I haven't asked somebody how they're doing spiritually, if I haven't helped somebody get to the next level spiritually, then I failed. And there are days when I fail, to be quite honest and transparent with you. So today I want to ask you a question. The first question, I'm going to ask you 3. I don't want to ask you more than 3 because when I get asked more than 3 things, I'll remember the first 2 and the last one I'll forget. So I'm going to just leave it at 3. So today, just show me your hands. I don't need you guys to come forward. I don't need you guys to stand up. I just want you to show me your hands really quickly. And you know that you are not where you need to be spiritually. You recognize, you're honest with yourself, and you know you're not where you need to be spiritually, and you want to do something to change that a little bit. Raise your hand. All over the place. All over the place. All over the place. At least 30 people, 40 people with their hands up. They are not where they need to be spiritually. You can put them down. And some of that might be, you know what, I'm nowhere spiritually. I've got nothing. And others of you might be, I need to get to that next level. I'm hanging around this acquaintance with the Lord stage way too much. And I need to get to the next level. I need to find out what that next level is, and I need to get to that next level. I appreciate you guys raising your hand. The next one recognizes our relationships that we're having here on earth. And we recognize in our lives that there are hackers, that they're running that chainsaw or they're running that double-sided axe and they're taking chunks out of my life. And I need to get away from that friendship or that dating relationship or whatever it is. Again, with your eyes closed tightly, I don't want anybody to see this. Raise your hand if you're in a friendship or relationship where you need to get away from somebody. Raise your hand. Right now. Quick as you can. Again, hands all over the place. Put your hands down. All over the place. And then the last question I have. I am the one who's hacking. I am the one who's got the chainsaw out. I'm the person, I'm the one who is causing the pain. And I find it funny. I find it awesome. But you know what? After the last couple weeks, after hearing, all this kind of stuff, I need to change that. I'm an idiot. I recognize it. I've got some bad habits I need to change. And I'm that hacker. Eyes closed tight. Hands high if you're somebody that's not doing what you should be doing when it comes to those relationships. Not as many, but several. Several hands around here. I'm going to ask a few of my seniors. Please, seniors that want to help me with prayer here at the end, come in front. Stand up here. You guys that were with me and said you wanted to help with chapel and all that kind of stuff, put your money in your mouth. Let's get up here in the front right now. Go. I'm going to ask you guys, again, we're getting close to the end here. I'm going to ask you guys to please come on down. If you raise your hand for any of those things, come on down. You don't need to tell anybody. You can tell everybody. It's your choice. Like I said, I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm going to make it as painless as possible. But I'd like you to come on down and spend some time in prayer. I'd like you to come down and confess that. Leave it at the altar. It's a continuation going into next week and then into the next week. Who has God created us to be? Who are we in our relationships? Who are we allowing to shape our lives? It's all going to be a continuation. If you recognize yourself in any of that, I'm going to ask you guys, as I dismiss, to come down front, spend a little bit of time in prayer, and then get back to class. But right now, I'm going to wrap it up for those of you that aren't coming down. Okay? We're just going to pray. I'm going to pray that you guys have a great rest of the day. You guys are going to be dismissed. But again, those of you that want to spend a few minutes, come on down with these seniors and pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this chapel time. Lord, I pray that through words that were spoken today, through illustrations maybe that Mr. Pinter produced last week, and through maybe some stories that were told today, Lord, I pray that the point is clear. Lord, that we've got so many different relationships, and we're going to continue to have so many different relationships that we have to maneuver and get through and work with in our lives. And I just pray, Lord, that you're the center of those. And I just pray, Lord, that we understand where we are in those relationships and we continue to build them. And Lord, I thank you for close friends. And I pray that everyone in here has somebody that they are close with, somebody that they can rely on, somebody that they can talk to when things are tough. Again, I thank you, Lord. I pray for the rest of the day. For those that are going to leave, I just thank you for them and that they'll have a great rest of the day. And Lord, for those that want to stay and pray for a second, I pray that you just give them an awesome time in prayer as well. Thank you, Lord. In your name, amen.